Remember when grocery shopping actually felt like an event? When you'd walk through automatic glass doors, grab a squeaky cart, and be greeted by the smell of freshly baked bread and that weirdly comforting hum of fluorescent lights. Those days are mostly gone. The grocery stores that once defined our neighborhoods, our childhoods, and our communities have slowly disappeared, replaced by sterile chains and endless self-checkouts. Today, we're taking a trip down memory lane to rediscover 15 forgotten grocery stores that should still exist today. Let's roll back the clock. Number 15. A&P, the Great Atlantic and Pacific Tea Company. If your grandparents ever told you about grocery shopping in the early 1900s, chances are they mentioned A&P. Founded in 1859, A&P was once the largest grocery chain in the world with over 16,000 stores at its peak. It was the Walmart of its time, except with actual character. The stores had checkerboard floors, glass jar displays, and that classic old-world charm. But after decades of mismanagement and competition from modern supermarkets, A&P slowly faded away, finally filing for bankruptcy in 2015. Still, if you ever saw those vintage red letter signs glowing at night, you know why people miss it. Number 14. Lucky Stores. Lucky was the go-to supermarket for West Coast families through the mid-20th century. Known for its cheerful red logo and catchy jingles, Lucky was famous for making grocery shopping fun. Lucky means low prices, remember that? But after it was merged and rebranded by Albertsons, the Lucky name disappeared for years. In recent times, a few locations tried to revive the brand, but it never truly recaptured that California cool feeling. If nostalgia had a grocery store aisle, Lucky would be right there next to the cereal boxes with cartoon mascots. Number 13. Food Fair, Pantry Pride. In the 1950s and 60s, Food Fair, later renamed Pantry Pride, was everywhere on the East Coast. It was one of the first supermarket chains to introduce self-service aisles and weekly coupon booklets, something that felt revolutionary back then. But the company overexpanded, buying up too many smaller chains too fast. When financial troubles hit in the 1970s, it collapsed almost overnight. Pantry Pride still lingers in memories of mid-century America, that pink and orange signage, the tiled floors, and those squeaky freezer doors that you had to yank open like you were launching a rocket. Number 12. National Tea Company. No, it wasn't a cafe. The National Tea Company was a grocery powerhouse based in Chicago, founded in 1899. At its height, it had over 1,500 stores across the Midwest. The name came from tea, but they sold everything from butter to bacon. For Midwesterners, the national logo on the corner meant fresh produce and friendly faces. Sadly, corporate buyouts and competition from modern giants like Jewel and Kroger drove it into extinction by the 1980s. Today, people remember it for that sense of community, the kind you just don't get in today's self-checkout lines. Number 11. Alpha Beta. Alpha Beta had one of the most clever names in grocery history, aisles organized from A to Z. The store was famous in the 1950s and 60s for its ultra-modern layouts, gleaming chrome signage, and upbeat commercials showing picture-perfect families pushing carts through spotless aisles. It became part of American pop culture, even appearing in TV shows and old commercials. But after a series of mergers, it vanished by the early 1990s, swallowed by Lucky and later Albertsons. If efficiency and optimism had a store, it was Alpha Beta. Number 10. Grand Union. For East Coasters, Grand Union was more than just a supermarket. It was a neighborhood hub. With its bold red signage and green-tiled exteriors, Grand Union represented the golden era of American grocery design. It pioneered the concept of in-store bakeries and frozen dinners, a huge deal back in the 1950s. But like many regional chains, it was slowly eaten up by larger corporations and disappeared in the 2000s. Still, for anyone who grew up seeing that Grand Union logo on a shopping bag, the nostalgia hits hard. Number 9. Winn-Dixie, the old version. Yes, Winn-Dixie technically still exists, but the version people remember is long gone. Back in the 60s through the 80s, it had a distinct southern charm. Friendly cashiers who knew your name, wooden produce bins, and neon signs that glowed warm red at night. Modern Winn-Dixie stores have changed with the times, but the original design, the old slogans, and the family store feel have vanished. Sometimes still existing isn't the same as still alive. Number 8. Dominick's. If you lived in Chicago, Dominick's was more than a grocery store. It was part of your weekend routine. Started by Dominic Di Matteo, an Italian immigrant, in 1918, it was known for high-quality produce, fresh bakery goods, and genuine community warmth. But after Safeway bought it, prices went up, quality dropped, and customers moved elsewhere. When the last Dominic's closed in 2013, it felt like Chicago lost a friend. Even today, people still wish it would come back, just as it was. Number 7. Safeway, the old one. Safeway is another chain that technically still exists, but the soul of its mid-century stores is gone. Remember those classic marina-style Safeway buildings with the sweeping roof lines? They were architectural icons, grocery stores that actually looked beautiful. Walking inside was like stepping into the future. Colourful packaging, new frozen products, and bright, optimistic music playing from ceiling speakers. Today's Safeways may be more efficient, but they've lost the charm. We miss when even grocery stores had style. Number 6. Piggly Wiggly, the real original ones. Before there was Walmart or Target, there was Piggly Wiggly, the first true self-service grocery store, founded in 1916 in Memphis. Customers could walk through aisles on their own for the first time, instead of handing a list to a clerk. It changed everything. While Piggly Wiggly still technically exists in some southern towns, most of the classic locations are gone. Those vintage signs with the smiling pig logo are now collector's items. The old school version was an experience, quirky, local, and proudly southern. Something we could use a little more of today. Number 5. Safeway's competitor, Vons, old logo era. On the West Coast, Vons was the classy competitor to Safeway. Its 1960s stores had geometric signage and neon accents that made shopping feel glamorous. Vons promoted itself as the future of food shopping, introducing bar-coded pricing and automated scales long before others caught up. But by the 2000s, after being absorbed by Albertsons, the original identity disappeared. Vons wasn't just a store, it was part of California's post-war optimism. Imagine palm trees, convertibles, and a grocery run on a sunny Saturday morning. That was Vons. Number 4. Jewel/Jewel Tea Company. Jewel started not as a store, but as a door-to-door coffee delivery service in 1899. Over time, it became Jewel Food Stores, the go-to supermarket across Illinois and Indiana. They even had Jewel Home Services trucks that looked straight out of a Norman Rockwell painting. Though Jewel Osco still exists, the original Jewel Tea Company spirit, personal, local, friendly, faded away long ago. It was the kind of place where your mom could run into 3 neighbors before even getting to the dairy aisle. Number 3. Acme Markets, retro era. For people in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, Acme was the supermarket of the 1950s and 60s. It had that sleek, modern logo with the bold red letters, often paired with futuristic mid-century architecture. Big glass fronts, slanted roofs, and pastel tiles. Even cartoons like The Simpsons parodied it because it was such a recognizable symbol of classic American suburbia. Acme technically still operates today, but those iconic old-school stores with big signs glowing over quiet parking lots are long gone. Number 2. Hills Supermarkets. This one's a deep cut. Hills Supermarkets was a Long Island favorite from the 1950s through the early 70s. Known for its giant H logo and generous layouts, Hills was family-owned, community-driven, and way ahead of its time with in-store bakeries and loyalty programs. But as national chains expanded, Hills couldn't keep up. The last stores closed in the late 1970s, leaving behind a generation of nostalgic shoppers who still remember that smell of fresh bread and waxed floors. If grocery nostalgia had a sound, it would be the echo of shopping carts rolling across a Hills tile floor. And finally, number 1, Red Owl. Ask anyone from Minnesota, Wisconsin, or the Dakotas about Red Owl, and you'll see their face light up. Founded in 1922, Red Owl was instantly recognizable. That red and white owl logo perched proudly over store entrances. The brand stood for friendly service, affordable prices, and a sense of local pride. It was even featured in the 1996 movie Fargo, decades after most stores had closed, as a tribute to its lasting legacy. Red Owl wasn't just a grocery chain, it was Americana in its purest form. It's the kind of brand that, if revived today with its vintage style and community values, would go viral overnight. So there you have it, 15 forgotten grocery stores that deserve a comeback. These weren't just places to buy food, they were social spaces, where neighbors talked, kids begged for cereal, and cashiers knew your name. Sure, today's supermarkets are more efficient. They have apps, digital coupons, and endless aisles of convenience. But sometimes you can't help but miss the smell of fresh produce, the squeak of a shopping cart wheel, and the sound of a friendly voice saying, "See you next week." Because groceries aren't just about food, they're about memories. Thanks for watching Past and Present. If you enjoyed this trip through forgotten grocery aisles, make sure to like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments, which of these stores do you wish still existed today?